Hey, what is up, guys? All right, let's get some of the questions that have come in pulled up. So I'll do a couple things. I'm going to go through the some of the comments and questions that have come in recently, and you guys can feel free to post any questions here as well, and happy to answer those. So anything regards to private equity, anything in the financier strategy we've been talking about. Any, I did get a question on some travel stuff. So anything you guys are interested in discussing, we can do that. I got a few minutes before my next appointment, so got a little time here. All right, let's start with this one. This is from Mr. Mail. It says, very interesting, Ace. I'd love to know the latest, most interesting books you've read. So let me pull it up. I've been doing a lot of audio or Audible, a lot of audio books. And that video he was commenting on is about the banking strategy, the private lending stuff, some of the kind of financier strategies that we use. And a couple of the books that I've been talking about. One of them is The End of Alchemy, is a good one to check out on that. Another one that's by Mervyn King. Another one is How the Other Half Banks. That's a really good one as well. I think on that topic, this is a little bit different, but it's just a really good book to check out. But it's Capitalism Without Capital. But those would be three books that I would check out on this whole deal as far as private equity, being on the money side, kind of acting as an investment bank in deals, which is a great option for a lot of you that at the end of the day, I don't think realize that you don't need to have money to be able to execute those strategies. Now, this one is a question that came in. It was from the video, Most Important Number in Private Equity. So you can check out that video for reference. It's from Louis007. Louis, what is up? Thanks for being a supporter of the channel. He asks, do you have any videos about finding customers for your fund? Biz by sell, or how would you recommend going about looking for those investors? So I just did a video that I'm going to be releasing, and it's basically the second part of this whole private equity fund from scratch series. So I've been talking about, starting from scratch, don't have anything. How do you go from zero to starting your private equity fund? And that's a big question. When it comes to raising capital from investors, they want pedigree, they want a track record, and one of the easiest ways to find investors is to have a really great deal. It's literally the easiest way. So you got to come into the game with some value. Either you're coming into it and you've got some cash that you want to invest, or you're coming into it and you're going to hustle. I remember when we had the Homevestor business, one of our greatest sources of deals was bird dogs. And it's the same in this business. It's a little more sophisticated, but the cool thing is you get a lot bigger checks. I talked about the biggest six-figure check that I wrote. Somebody who was part of the program who referred a deal in. It was too big a deal for him to close. We ended up closing the deal, and he was paid six figures for that. So that's what can happen when you're bird dogging for these kind of private equity deals. Now you've got to get the expertise and start to build those relationships and networking. And so, I think there is no magic pill kind of solution where it's like, okay, I don't have to work. I can just lay back and make it happen. But if you're willing to do the networking, and essentially what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to be the outsource legwork for an investor who wants to get really great returns, and then you get to get a piece of that, whether it's an upfront fee or a piece of the action. Now, if you can bring the whole deal together, I talk about that six-figure check. Now, in that case, I'm personally somebody that wants to negotiate my own deals anyway. But there are a lot of investors out there who aren't doing this every day. So for that deal, he got the six figures for just like a contact. I went in, I flew down, met with the guy, negotiated everything, did the due diligence, raised the capital. Everything was done really on the back end. The member of the program got the six figures just because of the contact. Now, what you can do that's really powerful, and this is what a lot of folks that go to the program end up doing, is they bring the whole deal kind of packaged and wrapped. So they found the deal, but they've also done the negotiation, they've done the due diligence, and it is a ready to go deal for the investors. And when you're doing that, raising capital, our issue is never raising capital. It's always finding new great deals. So if you're always finding great deals, you're always going to have capital. Let's see if any comments while I'm going through this are coming in. Cool. So feel free if you have any questions that I go through this. I have, I think, 3 more of these. All right. This one comes from Mr. Mel. If you were starting out and didn't have any contacts pertaining to the field of buying businesses, and your savings is 0, how would you go about building your portfolio and network? So I talked a little bit about finding the deal. I think that's one thing. I won't go back over that again. I think the other strategy is the concept, and what we're putting a lot of focus on right now is training people in how to think about joint ventures. Because when you can start from nothing, connect 2 people. Check out the last video that I released. But we had a case of a guy who his uncle had one business. He had a buddy who would start another business. He connected the 2, and it's generating $4,000 a month. Down in Florida. Or actually, I'm in South America right now, so it'd be up in Florida. But when you can connect that kind of thing. Actually, just had another cool example. Turan, who reached out to me today, connected me with somebody, and these are the type of people that really just win. So Turan is an example of somebody who had come across a deal. He was up in Canada. The business was, I believe, in Georgia. And so, didn't have any contact with these folks. He ended up striking a deal with them that was a no money down deal to help them in their business. And a lot of the value that he brought was that there were 2 50-50 partners. He didn't put up any money. He was just like, hey, I'm going to come in. I'm going to be another partner with you guys and help you grow this business, because they were really overwhelmed and also having some issues between them. So he was kind of the tiebreaker. Long story short, he ended up taking over 100% of the business without putting up any of his own money. But it's this kind of creative thinking. If you're somebody that's starting, like you said, with 0 in your savings, I do think that starting from scratch, you've got to make up for that in creativity and being able to see how you can connect 2 businesses, be able to network, find people that have a need, and then you go fulfill that need. Literally, it can be that simple. But it is a concept of joint venturing. As you're networking, you're finding different businesses, you're looking for opportunities of businesses to buy. It's not an easy thing, because I have this conversation with the operators that run my businesses all the time, where they come with a problem, or especially when it comes to marketing, I think that joint venturing is the most underutilized way to grow a business, or to grow, if you're just an individual, to grow your own personal income, which creates the really great opportunities. Like I've said to you guys before on the channel, I don't want to do the thing that everybody's rushing to. And typically that means I'm not going to do the easy thing. You know, if somebody's like, oh, just put some money into this influencer thing and money's going to come out the back end, eventually, if that's going to be oversaturated, because it's this attractive, really super easy thing. When you say, okay, you've got every situation is going to be unique. You've got to go into that situation and figure out, okay, how can I put together two businesses? How can I offer something from another business this business needs? And then how do I get a cut of that? And they're just all of these resources that are sitting out there. I talked about in a recent video, you know, having a tennis line who had 12,000 people on a mailing list that they didn't use. That would be a connection that you could have. It's like, hey, let's promote something to your customers. You find a hair salon and you get a piece of whatever they promote, and you don't have to put up anything. You don't have to put any money. You know, we bought a business a while back that had about 5,000 square feet of space that was dedicated to Halloween. You know, it's kind of, we just passed Halloween, so I always think about that business during Halloween. But that's, you know, a couple months out of the year was selling costumes, and then it was just empty. So, you know, taking that out and then turning that into a party space that we could rent out was, you know, just all upside. But you could go into a business, see that opportunity, say, hey, I'm going to do everything for you to make money from this the other 8 months of the year, and I just want that cut. There are endless. It's just, there's so many. I can't, you know, name all of them, but it's not that it is, hey, go do this. It is the thinking creatively that helps you get past that. Hopefully that is helpful, Mr. Mel. Let me know. Let's see. Scroll down here. Johnny Wayne said, hey, Ace, thanks for sharing. How can I learn and work with you? Check out acechapman.com. Feel free to hit us up there. You know, it's not an easy thing. We're like doing deals a lot more. And so it does take being kind of the right person that makes sense to come in. Ryan says, I am interested in learning more about what you mean at the end of the video when you talk about getting paid for the expenses. I actually did do a different video. I'll try to find that and put that in the find the right video and put that in the comments. But I did do a video a little while back where I walked through what I meant by that, and examples, which again, quite honestly, that was a new example right there where, you know, with that business, we had an expense that was an expense 8 months of the year. And we turned that into, you know, we had to pay for that space all year. We only made money from it from like 3-4 months. And then max, which was really 2 because it was costing, but it was very high margin. I mean, you guys will see these businesses that pop up and they just sell costumes, and those businesses generate a ton of money, and they literally just rent a place, they rent it for 3 months, they come in, they advertise, they sell a bunch of costumes, and then they close it, and then they go about. So this was that, but we were paying for that space all year round. So that was turning an expense into something that we started renting out the space as a party venue, which the business sold party stuff. So we literally had people that were buying things for graduations, for birthdays, obviously for Halloween, for Christmas, all of that, and banquets. And so when they came there, we had a sign up that said, hey, we have a space that you can rent. It was, and the funny thing too is, like, most of this stuff sounds obvious, but that was a business that was in business for 35 years and nobody had done it before. So, you know, it's not about it being so like this incredibly complex thing. The greatest ideas are very simple. All right. All right. And Sway says, damn great points. I know you can't mention the deal, but could you, or perhaps the, hold on a sec. I know you had mentioned the deal that you're finding certain offline deals. Since there's so many deals out there, or I think maybe the industry. Yeah, okay. The industry that you're finding deals in. So it's across the board. I mean, we just closed a deal on an animation studio. So it's not so if you're bringing kind of that deal maker skill set, if you do have another skill set, then obviously it can be valuable to do something in the industry that you have experience in. But when you're coming to it with this deal maker skill set, we're thinking about things like what I'm talking about as far as just joint ventures, as far as turning expenses into income, as far as completely leveraging every asset that's in the business. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you're an expert at that particular business. Sometimes being an expert at that business could be a detriment. It could actually hurt you because you're used to doing things a certain way, and having an outsider's eye, you can come in and bring some fresh ideas and look at it from a totally different perspective. I'm sure that as a black guy that owned 5 tanning salons, I probably did some things in those businesses that somebody who had been going to tanning all their life and knew how it was supposed to work may not have tried. So not having experience can actually be an asset, but I wouldn't focus too much on any particular industry until you see a an opportunity that exists in that industry. So the reason that I went hardcore into real estate or tanning or whatever is I saw a specific opportunity that I wanted to leverage. And so it's like, all right, I'm going to go deep into this industry, but it's not that any, industry is particularly better. It's just that, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this thing that I see. And the best way to find that is getting on the phone with sellers, learning about their businesses, learning how things operate, and taking those ideas to other businesses in the same space. All right, Art Manville, what is up? Thanks so much for commenting and asking a question. He asks, when you offer a seller a percentage of the deal to get a better multiple, is this a permanent thing or just a limited percent profit? Okay, so is it a permanent piece of business? Or is it something that's going to be, limited or whatever? At the end of the day, and I was talking through actually a former employee. I love when a former employee is trying to do a deal. So I have a former employee who's trying to acquire a hotel in Mexico. And so we're talking through a lot of different things, doing deals overseas, the paperwork, she's raising some capital. You'll see her on the older video. We had done a deal together on one of the tennis lines. So it's funny we were talking about that. So we're talking through this, and the cool thing, but also the tough thing, is that there are no rules. So it's cool that there are no rules because it's unlimited. I mean, you could come in and negotiate for this to be for the equity that you get to be a permanent piece of the business. You could negotiate that you're just going to get a certain amount of profits for a certain period of time. We're doing a deal right now where we actually are buying a royalty out of a business. So we're buying a royalty, and so we're not going to take equity in the business. We're just getting a certain amount of money. It's one of the things if you watch Shark Tank. Kevin O'Leary is always trying to get those kind of pieces of the business where it's just, okay, I want this percentage of the income. That's what all this stuff is about. We want to get the income out of the business, and so it's all about cash flow. Which I think I did see a question where somebody was asking me about cash flow. So it's the sky's the limit. That's the great thing. But I know for a lot of people, when you're going into a deal and you don't have a certain kind of outline of what it needs to look like, then that can be tough. And if you're looking Personally, if I'm just deciding between that, if I want a limited percent of the deal or I want equity, I want to figure out what's going to give me the best cash flow. So if just getting a percent of the profits, that seller feels like, wow, like, okay, I'll give you a big portion of the income. That could be interesting. But if I can get equity and cash flow, that's the bonus because I want the cash flow, but I want to be able to sell this as an asset later. And the truth is, even the deal that we're doing with the royalty thing, we can sell that royalty to somebody else. The thing that I wouldn't do would be limit the time on the royalty. I probably would not do that, which was the other part of that question. Cool. I believe that may be all of the questions I was going to get to for today. Let's see. Cool. All right, we got a question over here on the live. Let's see. Elliot, what is up, sir? What is the best way to get an asset purchase loan or funding to buy a business? So if it's an online business, it's going to be very tough to get an asset purchase loan. It's just there isn't a big community of lenders or institutions that are doing those. If it is a offline business, then you definitely have a great opportunity to get that kind of loan. The easiest thing is to build a relationship with a small local bank that likes small businesses. And that, like when it's in your local area, when you can show them, hey, here's this business, it's generating income and it has assets, that's a huge upside. And you need the ability to sit down with somebody and tell the story. The problem with a large bank, especially if the transaction isn't some big transaction, is that everything is mechanical and are automated. There's not a human that's making a decision. So you're just going through an application process. You're like, okay, small business is risky. This sounds weird. Blah blah blah. We bought a few businesses that were 20, 25. Bought one business 35 years old. In the community that I was in, when you go to a bank and you're talking to somebody about that kind of deal in your community, and as soon as you're talking to a local banker and they know the business, they've been, they've been to the business, they know, okay, this thing isn't going anywhere. It's been here forever. That is the thing that makes the difference. And then outside of that, the next best thing would be local investors that you can get that kind of loan from. Awesome. Good chat. Thanks so much for popping on. All right, I'll answer this one before I bounce out, and then this will be the last one. So I got this question from Give Africa. How do I borrow against assets of a business I don't own yet? So what's going to happen is you'll apply for a loan. You'll show that, hey, I've got a contract to buy this business. I want to close on this date, etc. I'd like to borrow this much. I'm going to put down this much. What the bank will do is put that into escrow, and nobody gets the money until the documents are signed. And then it's just like real estate. So as soon as you sign, everything is good. They release escrow to the seller, and now you're the owner, obviously with the bank, and you have to make those payments on the assets or the loan that was against the assets. Cool. Thanks so much. Be sure any questions that come in, I try to do this every once in a while to make sure I don't miss any of the questions. But feel free to comment below, and any feedback, any thoughts you have, be sure to subscribe. Thanks so much for watching the video. No problem.